see it. Class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis.
Where are you, Egberto?
I'm here. Can you hear me? Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet, formerly known as ARPANET, created by whom? Created by we the people. Folks, we have a lot to talk about today. We have much to talk about today, but before we get there, let's move on to the studio with our resident geniuses, El Senor Jacques Van Bever and Howard Reynolds. How you doing, guys?
No, we're doing good. Jack got the top rating this morning.
All right, man. Yeah. I'm on top.
That's right.
Whoops.
And Egberto was such a skilled host. He was miming the very beginning of the show. It kind of confused us here, but once we figured it out, it's like, oh, okay. Can you put some audio to that mime?
That is funny. You know, I tell you, sometimes with these signals and channels, you never know what's going on, even though you should know what's going on. Anyway, guys, how you guys doing this morning?
Well, Friday morning at the radio, the 6th of February, my mother's heavenly birthday. And happy, she would be like 100 or so. I think she would be like 93. And she survived
happy birthday,
cancer.
Mom.
Yeah, and miss her every day. Jack, well, you got a whole page of wisdom here, so I think we should wise ourselves up.
Yeah, I didn't get your post this morning, Egberto, so
Really?
I kind of keyed in on Dan Patrick's story.
Oh, God. Mr. Crook.
Texas pouring into private schools as Dan Patrick focused on Texas exceptionalism. What a crock and bull story. Texas, you're being duped again. Anytime the state offers money as an incentive for you, the people, to change your thinking or beliefs about public versus private education, you're being led like a donkey with a carrot on a stick to right to where they want you to go, which is right into the pockets of the wealthy. First, who gets the $10,000 voucher? The private school entity. Then the person has to provide transportation to and from school, another windfall for the private schools. Then look to be nickeled and dimed, more like $100 billed to death for curriculum accessories. The client ends up spending more money out of pocket to maintain the student's expenses of going to a private school than the low cost of taxes to fund public education. Again, the wealthy are turning the student into a revenue stream. Turn the page. As they privatize the profits and socialize the costs, meaning it is your tax dollars that pay for the vouchers. Greg Abbott's condemnation of students' walkouts protesting in solidarity with against ICE's murdering tactics. Perhaps, I think the students should be applauded for their civic engagement and activism, not punished. The students seem to see with their eyes and feel with their hearts, something the rest of us could probably use a little bit more of.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, one of the callers yesterday on Michael's show, who shall remain nameless on this show, was saying, well, how do they coordinate that? Who coordinated all those walkouts?
Who's coordinating Turning Point to put Christian values into the schools and probably end up oppressing non-Christians?
Yeah, who's doing that?
Yeah,
Jack, make sure you find out and make them stop.
I heard Jack actually spoke about that on what's his name show yesterday on Conversations
Conversations.
yesterday. Yeah,
Hmm.
and let me tell you, I find it amazing when the left organizes and comes out with big projects. They are oh how could there's some Soros or whatever arranging it, but they never think about
Demonization.
That
yeah
is such nonsense. That is
and
such
but
nonsense.
but when they do their organizing, it's like oh it's
Oh, it's
organic.
okay.
It's okay. You know. Anyway, Uju, our fun drive is going to start next week. Remember that we will be having our programs. Nonetheless, we're going to be giving programs as we pitch. And if you signed up for a recurring membership when you signed up, it will roll over. But if you just did a one time, one off, it is something that you'd have to renew. So it all depends on whether you signed up for recurring or not, Uju. Thank you for asking in the chat. Um, let's see what else have we got here. Um, Jack, I don't know. Something happened last night. I prepared the newsletter and it disappeared in the Substack system. I've got to figure that out later. Now, folks, we are going to have a great show for you today. I want to first start out by welcoming some of our great folks. We have Lisa Blair out of Atlanta, Georgia. And of course, in the chat, which is starting to populate, we have Louis Rollins, John A. from Covington, Georgia. We also have Joe from Los Angeles, California, Don, Coach Cam. How you doing, Coach? Coach is our resident, what should I call Coach? Our resident, I want to say activist in crime. We have Uju in the house from Florida. We have Jane B in North Carolina. Recently, we had a book club, wonderful book club. Don, how you doing? He says, "Good morning, everybody." Cheryl Cook, is that Cook or Cook? I don't know how you say that, but forgive me if I did it wrong. Elizabeth Silic LaRue, ESQ. Folks, you got to go to her Substack. If you are thinking about leaving this country, man, she can tell you how to do things the right way. The right way. Deborah Cox, buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? Elizabeth says, Egberto, how are you up this early on air? Well, I have to. I have to get up. We got to take care of our folk. And you know, it's funny because Jack Van Bever, he leaves all the way from the south side of town to get out here. So he's up even earlier. So let's give kudos to Brother Jack as well. And of course, you know, we always give our kudos to Howard. Neurodivergent Hodgepodge. Love that name. Cheryl Elkins, our resident activist out of Massachusetts. Welcome aboard. Let's see if I forgot anybody. Glenn Ryan, my nemesis, is in the house. You know I love you, Glenn. We hit heads, but that is to make our country better. Stuart Cohen from West Palm Beach. Yeah, I could take some of that good temperature right now. LVW, La Profesora, is in the house. Thank you for being here. And of course, Gigita David. Anyway, let's go to Johnny on line numero uno. How you doing, Johnny?
Well, both you and Shink, you have one thing in common. You guys are very noble and very full of grace when it comes to your nemesis. unlike, unlike that guy occupying public housing on Pennsylvania Avenue, who he has a full line of retribution in mind for anybody that he considers to be his nemesis or people that don't say anything pleasant about him, including reporters. And we got to do something about that. By the way, I want to also thank Magic Jack for yesterday when he got that point in at the very end to address one of our time travelers, who shall go nameless. This idea that the other guys, they like to point out things that aren't really true. They never heard of spontaneous combustion? Spontaneous combustion is not just the literal, but also the organic version that we see when you are constantly having your people showing up with rifles and shooting up, killing kids in grade schools and high schools. And this happens over and over and over again. Not just last year and the year before, but for more than 2 decades this has been going on. And then you run off campaign buses off the road and you beat up people on bicycles wearing helmets because you think they're libs. Whether they are or not doesn't matter. All these assaults over and over again. People showing up to spit in people's faces and breathe on them during COVID. Remember that? You don't think people remember this stuff? And young people, especially when they feel their lives are in danger from all these drills they have to do because they remember having to hide for their lives and to go back of the room where their teacher might have a sandbox for them to go pee in, because young kids, when they get scared, they relieve themselves that way. And the right, they fabricate all kinds of stories from that. You don't think there's some kind of spontaneous combustion happening? It has nothing to do with George Soros or anybody else with funding, because I never saw that guy show up at KPFT to help us out. Give me a break. But
you know what?
Johnny. On the other side of the aisle, right now as we speak, high schools, they have these things called Republican clubs. And guess what they do? They talk about how to choke out libs. And what do we see in Democracy Now? Over a year ago, we saw a story about that, where a young kid was, the right-wing student came up behind him and choked him out based on what he learned in his Republican club. And now Turning Point USA has a bunch of money dedicated for the purpose of even more coordination. Get out of here.
Hey, your Northeasternness just came out, buddy. Hey, let me just say this, okay? Because Dan Crenshaw, the congressman from Senate, from Congressional District 2 here in Texas, he came over here, and I wasn't able to go see him in person, but a lot of our agents here, great, the leader of Indivisible Kingwood went out there to see him in Spring, Texas, and he was knocking Alex Preti for carrying a gun to a protest, right? And the first thing that and he made a video out of it. It was a terrible town hall, and he only had snippets that he could make a video out of to make it seem like the town hall was better than it really was. I mean, because he was terrorized in that town hall. Well, I did a video to complement his video where he said, you shouldn't bring a gun. And what I showed is I started the video showing what ICE is doing to people, bashing people. But then in that video, I also just have to show January 6th. And when you see the violence, the up close violence of January 6th, you should never allow, and I'm speaking to everybody here, you should never allow anybody on the right to talk about anything about violence, the rule of law, or anything when you go up close and up and afar and see what happened on January 6th. But then I also reminded them of Rittenhouse. We had righties going into these protests and actually killing people. Please tell me, when have you heard of someone on the left going into a crowd, shooting and killing? You don't see it. All our violence, it comes from the right, and the reason why is that's what they preach. They preach that methodology. They preach the Second Amendment. They preach these things.
That's what they talk about in these clubs in these high schools. They don't talk about defending democracy and what they can do to try to convince people that their way is the correct way. They talk about how to choke out kids and how to beat up people. And that's what Turning Point USA is going to be dedicated towards. I don't believe anything they have to offer. They've got nothing of value. And by the way, let's not forget that guy Crenshaw, the eye patch guy, he's the muke who made that political ad, remember? Where he's fashioning himself out to be a superhero, jumping out of the back of a military aircraft. Who's he aiming that message to? Not you and me. He's aiming it to 10-year-olds who he thinks 8 years from now, when they become voting age, they'll vote for him because they think he's cool.
Johnny, gotta go. Johnny, you gotta go. But thank you, my brother, for the insight.
I love the post office, and we'll discuss the post office another day. I did not forget about that. Bye-bye.
We'll do about it, brother. Peace. All right, we still have our program to do, but Gonzalo is on. Buenos días, mi hermano. ¿Cómo estás? Gonzalo, you're on. Okay, Gonzalo may be on hold. Let's put, or maybe Mike. Okay, let's put Gonzalo on hold and let's go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you all for being here. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is what Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, is doing. As we all know, Donald Trump has gone crazy with what he's doing with um, tariffs and so forth, trying to dominate the world by doing things his way. Okay, there we go. Now, here's what I want to say. This guy is pushing us backwards. And I want to point out an article from the New York Times that shows what the rest of the world is doing. And I'm starting with Carney because all you need is about 10 Carneys to create irreparable damage to the United States economy going forward. So let's talk about it. I'm going to put it up on the screen as I read and narrate
That
parts.
shows
What the rest of the world is doing. And I'm starting with Carney I got to
because
turn that off. Apparently, we have a feedback control there. So let's go ahead and do otherwise. I won't put that up on the screen. I got to fix that. Anyway, the article starts as follows. Carney stakes Canada's auto future on EVs as it pulls away from the United States. Okay, says Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada announced on Thursday a sweeping plan to offer billions of dollars in incentives and tax breaks for auto industry investment designed to help turn Canada into a global leader in electric vehicles. The new policy, Mr. Carney said, were meant to transform Canada's economy and make it less reliant on a single trade partner after President Trump's economic assaults and threats on Canada's sovereignty have frayed relations between the two nations. Now, we must take care of ourselves, Mr. Carney told reporters at an auto parts factory near Toronto. We cannot control what others do. Canada's auto industry, which employs about 125,000 workers, is vital to the country's economy and is closely intertwined with the United States. Mr. Carney's effort to stake the country's future to electric vehicles is part of his campaign to stand up to the United States, which has won him plaudits at home and abroad. Canada is an auto nation. The auto industry is central to our story, Carney said. The auto industry is the core pillar of the Canadian economy. Mr. Trump has inflicted significant pain on Canada's auto industry which exports about 90% of its vehicle to the United States, imposing a 25% tariff on Canadian vehicles. Mr. Trump has said he does not want cars in the United States to be made in Canada and wants to drastically increase domestic production. I want to stop there. And I want to explain this. If just about 10 countries do what Canada is doing, we are hosed. Because don't let anybody fool you. We depend on imports and exports as much as anyone else because we created a capitalism of globalization. Okay? We are so interdependent that one bully castrated by the others kills the bully. And we ourselves, America, being the bully. But here's the main part of this article that I think, and I read the whole article, and I don't think they stressed it enough. And one of the reasons they may not be stressing it enough is because of self censoring by the paper. You see what happened to the Washington Post. Jeff Bezos, owner, billionaire, owned the paper, and they have laid off 300 people, about a third of the people that work for the paper. Why? We'll talk about that later. But let's get back to the New York Times, Canada, and Carney. How is Canada divesting from the United States auto domain? This is important. Let's look at what Donald Trump is preaching first of all. In payment to the oil industry and the car, a lazy car industry that cares more about profits than reinvesting said profits in their own companies, what have they done? They've centralized right back on old hydrocarbon technologies, meaning cars that still run on oil, cars that still runs on gasoline, not looking into the future of where the rest of the world is going. And as such, what we've done is Canada has said, wait a minute, we are not going to try to compete with the United States fully in regular car manufacture. We'll continue to try to have our international trade with cars, but we are going to open new markets. I want to digress a minute. The one thing that Trump is right about is the other countries did things the easy way. Big Brother America was saying, "Let me be daddy," and they said, "Okay, you be daddy because you want to be the police of the world. No problem. Come build your bases in our country and defend us. You want to be the big daddy in this part of this part of that's fine. We'll take our monies and we'll socialize. We will make sure that our residents, our citizens have universal health care, family leave, family vacation. We'll make sure all those things, we won't worry about all the other things because Big Daddy is taking care of us." Trump is right about that. It made for decisions that said, you know what, we don't have to really do these things because Big Daddy want to do it. So it's going to take them 10 years to realize that whenever you rely on Big Daddy, you rely on Big Daddy. And now they're waking up to their own defense. Now they're waking up to the things that they would rather not do. But the thing about it is, in the process of doing that, they got a head start in the social programs that are necessary to keep a happy people. They got the universal health care. They got all those things that Americans are yearning for and that Donald Trump has no desire. The Republican Party has no desire. The neoliberal Democrats have no desire of solving. No desire of solving. But back to Canada. So Canada said it's not going to independentize itself from the United States by doing the same thing. They're going to move into the future. So how do they start? They create arrangements with China to allow China to bring some of their electric vehicles, not at 100% tariffs, but at a good price into Canada. What else have they done? They've decided that they're going to open their markets to South Korea. Now South Korea will be building factories in Canada for electric cars, for batteries, and they are investing billions in bringing foreigners, what we call HB1 visas, to Canada to help them as they expand into the future. As Trump talks about windmills killing birds and not working, and somehow electric cars are a fantasy. You see, when you are led by a lie and you build on a lie, the future is your enemy. So for all of those that are listening right now, especially those in rural America, and yes, believe it or not, I found out we do have quite a few people listening in rural America. Here is the thing, because by the way, a few other stations carry us that actually takes care of rural stuff. Let me just say this, guys. You are being hurt the most. You are being hurt the most. So again, as Canada seek the future, as Carney is the grown-up from North America, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, Carney has just become the de facto leader of Western capitalism, even though I'm an anti-capitalist, because I know the extractive nature and the destruction it has done around the world, and the destruction it has done on Appalachia, and the destruction that it has done in around America. I know that I can prove that. It's not conjecture. It's not me being a communist. I'm not. But it is what that economic system has inflicted on the rest of the world that can be proven mathematically. Carney has decided that he will be the leader of a different kind of Western capitalism, one that actually not good, but one that actually works in the aggregate. After all, Canada has itself a form of universal health care, not as good as some other countries in Western Europe or Asia, but a good one nonetheless. Not as good as the one in China. Yes, I just said it, China. Check out all our professors who are moving to China right now and actually doing very well. It's very important, folks, that we don't just sit back here in the United States and live or lie and live what Donald Trump and his ilk is saying and live what Jeff Bezos wants to tell you as he kills journalism that tells the truth. As all the other papers follow, remember the LA Times refused to endorse as well, not only the Washington Post. It is so important that we get truth right here on KPFT, one of the few channels that we can have the broadcast truth. A lot of the broadcasters are now crippled. MS Now is the closest one that have some leeway with certain journalists with like Ali Velshi, who knows how to toe the line just enough. But that is why next week, folks, we're going to be coming to you again for your support of this particular station to keep doing what we're doing. But we still have people coming in. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to break for a minute here because you all always come first. Let's go to Brother Jimmy, and then we'll continue. Jimmy, come on in.
Good morning, Alberto. I've got two items from the news yesterday that show how corrupt President Trump is. First of all, he told Senator Chuck Schumer, the head of the Democrats in the Senate, that he will release these millions of dollars that Congress has appropriated for infrastructure if Schumer will see that he names an airport and a train station after President Trump. That shows his ego there, and it's very corrupt. And secondly, Trump is suing the IRS for $20 billion worth of B for supposedly releasing some type of information on him. And he said he's going to take that $20 billion and donate it to charity. But in the past, he said that, and the records show he's only donated about $10,000 to charity over 4 years. So the man is totally corrupt, and he can more or less order the IRS to pay him this $20 billion as they work for him while he is president. The man is totally corrupt.
You're absolutely right, Jimmy. Those stories that you told, they dropped yesterday, and that is so true. I mean, it's actually for the New Jersey tunnel, and it's $10 billion, as Uju points out, $10 billion that he wants the Secretary of the Treasury to simply sign a check over to him. I want to see, the thing about it is Donald Trump tries to see how far he can go before people revolt. And I think he's going to get a shock. Let me just tell you something. Right here in Kingwood, a very right-wing area, the students at all the high schools, not only in Kingwood, but in Humble, are going to be doing something interesting today. Stay tuned because, yours truly will be carrying that as well. But anyway, Jimmy, let me go ahead and go on to Richard. Thank you for calling in, my brother. As usual, you have a wonderful rest of your day, sir. Let's go to Richard. Come on in, Richard.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you're driving. Hey, the opposition in Canada yesterday had a press conference, and Carney has to do what he has to do with trying to negotiate with different countries, Korea and China. but also the opposition has come out, and Carney has come out with his new energy policy, which cutting back on EV emissions, and they're going back to more gas efficient policies that they had. They're still trying. It's still going to be. They're still going to be more efficient than the U.S. But the fact that they're cutting back on a lot of their energy policies, especially the EV policies, is something that
Concerns you.
can't pass that. And as far as healthcare goes,
I'm sorry.
Canada, 60, oh, go ahead. Oh, I'm
No,
just
you
saying
go ahead.
Canada's healthcare plan or program, it took years to get it developed, and it's still not perfected. Better than the U.S. Nobody, but to say that the U.S. Can get the same program, it kind of leaves out the fact that the population of the United States is a lot larger than Canada.
All right, let me break you there for a second, my brother, and please stay with me. Don't leave yet. First of all, remember when I said Carney is becoming the leader of of Western capitalism, and it comes with all the dread that means as well, but just better than what we have. You're correct. In this same article, they point out that Carney went ahead and reduced the restrictions, but still by 2040 they will have, or their expectation is to have 90% of vehicles on the market be electric. I don't know if that's a ruse, I think, towards the right in their country, because if you have 90% of vehicles electric, that 10% that are still gasoline based will still not be enough to keep up your energy requirements. I want to give you what the corollary is for that. One of the reasons that they probably did that is to appease the right into saying Canada sits on top of one of the largest reserves as well of oil, and if you go ahead and make yourself all electric, your domestic use of the energy you produce is gone. So we have to take a whole lot of that with a grain of salt, and also something that is very political with respect to healthcare. Yes, they are way ahead of us on healthcare, but they have issues with how they distribute drugs, etc. There's a lot that can be done when it comes to our economy compared to their economy. We are so much richer, and having more people would scale much better in healthcare than a little bit of people that are. Believe it or not, it's a right wing talking points that these other countries can have better healthcare or do healthcare because either they are monolithic or they are a smaller population. Both of those items are false. It's a ruse. It's trying to associate things that have nothing in common. More people give you better scalability. Different having people of many kinds, that has nothing to do with how healthcare is delivered. It's a ruse that we have to get out of our lexicon altogether and make sure not to allow it to be entered as some sort of an argument, because it simply is not a part of the independent variables. But anyway, Richard, anything else before I move on to Michael?
Yeah. Can I rebuttal that one
Yes,
statement?
absolutely.
As far as Canada goes and making it electric, that goes fine in the big cities, in the eastern Canada, but western Canada is
right. Saskatchewan is crazy.
You still don't have the grid that
right.
you need to power the places in Western Canada, especially Calgary up in Alberta.
You're Richard. Richard. You're 100% correct. You for today, you are 100% correct. What I try to impart on people, is the following: not because it's not there today means we shouldn't have it for tomorrow. Okay, just like you can say, in this area of no man's land, there's not the grid or electricity. I can say in that part of no man's land, there never used to be gas stations, and there are now. So we replace the gas. So I'm saying, don't allow false arguments. You're correct as far as today's reality. but don't let a false argument stop progress. That's all I'm saying. But Richard, thank you for calling
So,
in.
okay.
And I need to go to Michael. So thank you, my brother. Let's go to Michael. Come on in, Michael. Michael, you're on. Okay, Michael is maybe thought he had to wait a bit too long. Thank you, my brother. Let's go ahead and continue with the program. So, look, first of all, Richard brought up some great points, right? The great point is that, hey, in Saskatchewan and other, Canada is a huge country, right? Land wise. And there are areas that are desolate, but just like they were desolate for gasoline, they're desolate for electricity. All of that can be mitigated, right? You build for that. And let me tell you other factors that are involved. There are certain locations we can have, even if the grid isn't there, meaning the grid generated by big power stations. In all these areas, you can build solar and wind plants based on climate, etc., etc. There are solutions if you're willing to invest in the solutions. The problem here is the investment doesn't follow the capitalism model. Let me explain why. The maximizate the definition that they like to give is the efficient allocation of resources. Well, under capitalism, oil is a resource, sun is a resource, wind is a resource. But in the aggregate, initially, it is so much easier. I said in the aggregate and initially, it is so much easier to pick up oil that is easily accessible and use it. The efficient allocation of resources, right? But what capitalism doesn't take into account is externalities. Let's go give an example. What happens to the places where you take the oil out, and what does it do to the groundwater? Capitalism's solution for that is, well, when we do the damage there, we create another industry to clean up the damage that we created in the first place. When we kill people, we create the medicines. We then, only then are we willing to pay for the medicines to fix the people. When I tell you that the tenets behind these policies are anti-human and just pro-capital, the appreciation of capital, but not pro-human. That's what I'm talking about. And the problem is that when you're indoctrinated into thinking the way we thought from birth, I was as well, it is so hard to move on to the future that we need to, for not just sustainability, but the ability to move on. I tell you, one of the biggest things that I ever seen that moved me was what was it called? Capitalism from economist Richard Wolff. Check that out. Capitalism Hits the Fan. I think you can find it at my website as well. All right, Elizabeth Salek says, what is actually the easiest is increasing energy efficiency and reducing usage and energy waste, but it's less profitable. And you nailed it, Elizabeth, right? Because what? It's the same thing that comes from manufactured obsolescence or designed obsolescence or whatever it's called. You don't want to build a product that lasts too long, because then you don't keep the manufacturing flow going, right? Design obsolescence, I think it's called, right? That is why this economic model is dangerous for the earth, right? And that is what a lot of people don't see. Let's see. V. Warren said also solar has the potential of allowing the individuals to actually generate energy to contribute to the grid. Yeah, in fact, and it's a corporation's doing that. A company called me. A few days ago, and we had a conference call, and it was about, hey, we saw that you were looking for alternative sources of energy somewhere, right? So yeah. And they said, well, we have something called base power. I think it's called base energy or something. We come to your home, we install batteries. Those batteries are charged by the electric grid that you have, right? And whenever the grid goes down, those batteries power your home. And if while the grid is hot, if the grid is too hot, meaning there are too many people dragging power from the bridge, the grid, we will take energy out of your batteries to continue powering the grid to help out the utility companies. I said, "Oh, great! That's a good thing. Good thing." I have always spoke about every one of our roofs should be power plants, but it's not. Capitalism can't do that. That requires government policy, right? And why does it require government policy? Efficient allocation of resources. Initially, the build up, put in solar panels on every single roof. Whenever I fly over Houston, whenever I fly over San Diego, whenever I fly over places where there are tons of rooftops, I always say, my God, look at all that wasted energy. That energy is converted into heat in that roof and then have to be cooled by fossil fuel generation. Imagine if we took the heat off of every rooftop, turned it into photovoltaic energy as well as heat energy for your water heater. Imagine if we had all this stuff well integrated, how much less we'll be dependent on petrochemicals, right? And but that requires government policy because it doesn't fall into the capitalist mantra. And here it is, a company that sees something of that sort that says, hey, we can turn every house in your neighborhood. If we put a battery in every house, when the energy grid gets overtaxed, that acts as a back-end store to provide energy to people. So I said, hey, that sounds like a great idea. I said, so I imagine you're going to come and put the batteries in, and all of that should be free for the homeowner, right? He said, nah, we're going to charge you $1,000 for the batteries and $20 a month to take care of the battery. So in effect, this capitalist company is saying, we have a deal with the electric company that when the grid's overflowing or needs more energy, we have all these batteries all over town that we can tap into. They're using your real estate to generate electricity, and when the grid goes low, then you're going to pay $20 a month to have them be servicing the battery and all. No. I looked at the guy and I said, no, you are asking me to be an investor in your company, and you are going to make all these profits on your own. It's just like when I went ahead and tried to get a solar company to come here with the grid. It started out that they wanted me to pay $80,000, and to show you how corrupt it is, $90,000, to show you how corrupt it is. By the end of the deal, when I said no, it had already gone down to $36,000. And here's what the guy didn't have a problem telling me. Oh, my manager said he'll take the hit. So he admitted to me that more than 50% of what they were going to put out here was going to go to their manager and the salesperson. And still at $30-something thousand, they would be making a profit. And you want to know why it is that we can't solve our energy problem? You want to know why we can't get things done? Because the economic system is a fraud. It is a fraud for those who have capital, who can actually build that other capital, and then you pay for it. You pay for it. When they put that battery in front of your home or to the side of your home, they want you to pay for the battery. They want you to pay them a monthly fee, and at the same time, they make a profit generating power for the grid. But most people don't see that. They say, oh, if I get the batteries, I pay $20 a month. And by the way, my electricity dropped by 30%. They think that, okay, they are saving some. What they don't say is that the other company is making a ton. We have to that is why they don't want us knowledgeable. That is why Donald Trump goes out and he said, I like stupid people. I didn't say that. Donald Trump said it. I like stupid people, because that's how they want to keep us. So that's what we do here, man. We learn together and we learn how not to fall for the trappings that our economic system is putting on us, that our government is putting on us, and much more. All right, so bottom line, folks, is that we are putting our country in danger. Donald Trump is a clear and present danger to America, not just physically with what he's doing with his secret police, the band of thugs that are out there beating up people, killing people, taking people's civil rights away, etc. He's a clear and present danger economically. And unless we understand that fully and get the entire cabal out of there, out of office, and I'm not just talking about Trump, I'm not just talking about Republicans, I am talking about neoliberal Democrats as well. Because one of the reasons Donald Trump came into power was because there was an excuse that people would use that when Democrats were in power, the full-throatedness of support for the working class was not there. And it gave them an argument, it gave them a narrative, a false one nonetheless. But when you have Joe Manchin and Sinema, two senators purportedly to be Democrats, that shut down family care, that shut down daycare for kids, that shut down policies that help the American people. When you have a Democratic senator from West Virginia, the poorest state in the country, or the second poorest state in the country, Mississippi and West Virginia play tags for who is the poorest group of folks in this country. Two states, two now red states, poorest states. And we have your senator who has a yacht. Your senator who lives like a king, Manchin, come out and said, we don't want to give these people subsidies because they're going to take that money and drink it out. That's what your Democratic blue dog senator thought about his people, that they were going to drink the subsidies they get for childcare. I mean, we need to clean house. Most people that I know want to work. I don't know who these senators hang around. I don't know who these people think most Americans are. But most Americans I know, no matter what part of this country I go to, I ask you to do one thing. Go into all the poor neighborhoods in Houston, Texas, in San Diego, California, in Nueva York. Go to all these damn cities and go to the bus stops. They're filled. Watch some of those broken down cars going to work every single morning. Go into your mom and pop stores. There are people working all over the place. They're working for minimum wage. They're working for less money than they're worth. And you have the nerve to talk about the working people that way because you try to use a few working people, the 1 or 2% of people that don't give a darn or that always try to beat the system. You try to make them your bully. I mean, you make them the face of the other. Come on, folks. And we can't buy that. We got to be smarter than that. Michael is back. Come on in, Michael, line 1.
Yeah, good morning. Early this morning, I heard you say that China healthcare is what? Say it again, so I get this right before I rant.
Oh no, there's no doubt about it. China's healthcare for the Chinese is better on the aggregate than healthcare for the Americans, where many Americans themselves don't even have healthcare. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, I get it. Have you visited China?
Yes, I have.
Okay, have you been in the hospital in China?
Yes, I have. Not only have I been in the hospitals, I did a project over there to see how things work. Now, look, let me tell you, Michael, the level, the standard. No, I'm not done. No, you hold on, sir. You hold on. The level of the level of healthcare. Let me give an example, and I'll go to Panama first. Our hospitals are super clean. You can eat off the floors, etc. The hospitals in Beijing, the hospital in Xi'an, the hospitals in Hong Kong. Well, Hong Kong is sort of a quasi-China, but it's still China. They are much more polished than the ones you'll find in rural areas, etc. Absolutely so. Now, you're not going to find in the Outer Banks the level that you'll find in the United States for hospitals that you are paid for, that again, your insurance pay for. But the bottom line is this: everybody has health care, and they're not going to go bankrupt and broke because of health care. Okay? Uh, let me tell you better. Let me tell you better. In Panama, what one would consider a third world country, in Colon, one of the poorest areas in Colon, there's a Amador Guerrero Hospital. Again, poor. You have to carry your own toilet paper. You have to have your family come in and change your bed sheets. But you know what? They have nurses taking care of you, but you have to sort of help out the nurses, right? But you know what you do? You don't go bankrupt. For rich people, they can always get private insurance in Panama as well and go to the Paitilla Hospital, where it has the same standard as the standards in the United States. But the basic here is somebody in Appalachia has no health care. So you see them with growths on their bodies that they can't take care of or can't look into because they just can't afford to. You don't have that in China. You don't have that in Paris. You don't have that in Canada. You don't have that around the world. Only here in the biggest capitalist country on the planet. So let me tell you something. Stop buying into the BS you hear here and start traveling and learn. And when I say travel, I don't mean you have to go out and travel. Meet people from around the world. Integrate yourself with people from around the world. They will tell you. When people come here and have to deal with the hospital, they are frantic and scared. You know, one of the best stories that you can read is that program by Michael Moore. Michael Moore spoke about healthcare in Cuba. Cuba, we've isolated Cuba. We have done terrible things to Cuba. But still, everybody in Cuba, as substandard as it is, has health care. They don't only have, because of what we've done to them, they have developed vaccines for themselves. Remember what I talk about when Europe got lazy? Cuba didn't get a chance to get lazy. We made sure of that. And it shows you when you're under pressure, what you have to do to survive. Look, we have to start learning a whole lot more about the rest of the world, because where we are falling, folks, is we are believing the crap being told to us by capitalists who profit from our ignorance. Again, if America is made for the wealthy, America is made for the wealthy. If you've got money, you've got everything. You have the best hospitals, the best healthcare, the best of everything. If you are mediocre, if you are middle class, if you are poor, you are hosed. And you know, most of us are becoming hosed because of who and what's happening in this country. One more call. Augie, I only got about a couple minutes for you, my dear brother. Come on in.
Yeah. You're talking about Cuba, and I was going to say the same thing. When 9/11 happened, the first responders couldn't get health care here in America. Michael Moore took them to Cuba, and they got free health care in Cuba. And before health care became for-profit hospitals by the Republicans, my mom was an emergency room nurse. Emergency rooms were empty. Nowadays, they're overfilled because of the for-profit medical care we got now, and people are dying because of the for-profit care that we got now, where before they weren't.
You nailed it. For-profit in healthcare is an oxymoron, right? For-profit in healthcare, you can't have profit in healthcare because when you break a leg, you don't have there's no shopping around. You go where you go to get it solved. Again, we have to get out of that way of thinking. But thank you for that, Augie. Anything else real quick, my brother?
Nope, just keep doing what you're doing there.
Thank you, my man. You have a wonderful rest of your day, sir. All right, let me throw it to the geniuses in the studio.
Oh, nothing from me. Jack, what you got?
Well, I was perusing the headlines, and why are we elevating fossil fuel over renewables? And then Navy media, Coast Guard stops narcotics vessel worth millions, but they're using a photo from 4 months ago.
I'm telling you, all smoke and mirrors is this administration.
That is so funny. That is so funny, man. That is so funny. But look, guys, thank you for everything. Callers, love you all. Listeners, love you all. People who take up our newsletter, etc. Thank you all. Anyway, folks, I got to get out of here, right? Love you all. You can get the rest of the program, politicsandright.com/newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter. You can email directly at kpft@politicsandright.com, kpft@politicsandright.com. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. Without comment, February 4th, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected an emergency appeal from the California GOP to block the state's Proposition 50 congressional redistricting as racially gerrymandered.